Welcome to Daily Dharma Listening. Here, each breath holds a story, each silence carries a teaching, and every moment is an invitation to return, to ourselves, to presence, to peace. If you find value in this journey, we gently invite you to subscribe, like, and share so others may walk alongside us. Now, let us begin. In the hush before dawn, there is a silence that is not empty, but full, dense with possibility, patient with grace. It is in that stillness that the Buddha sat, under the Bodhi tree, unmoved by storms, unmoved by desire, until truth unveiled itself like the first light of morning. This stillness is not distant, nor is it reserved only for sages and saints. It is within reach. It waits for each of us, behind the noise we mistake for life, beyond the chaos we call normal. And in that stillness, we begin again. To begin again is not to erase the past, but to let it settle. In Buddhist teachings, the concept of beginner's mind is a sacred doorway. It is the mind that does not presume, does not cling, does not resist. It sees what is, without the need to transform it into what it should be. It is the first step of the Eightfold Path, right view. To see clearly, as if for the first time. In our modern world, this clarity is a rare jewel. Our lives hum with distraction. Notifications simulate importance. Opinions masquerade as truths. Anger is applauded as strength. And yet, in the midst of this modern roar, how do we find peace in chaos? The Buddha taught not through commandments, but through invitations. He did not demand belief, but encouraged observation. In this spirit, let us observe what pulls us out of presence. What keeps us from beginning again? Is it regret? Fear? The restless need to always be more? The unspoken belief that we are not yet enough? To live without fear is not to live without danger. It is to know that fear is a story the mind tells when it cannot accept uncertainty. Buddhist wisdom reminds us, all things arise, all things pass. The storm comes, but it does not last. The fire burns, but eventually softens into ash. So too with our fears. They feel permanent, but they are not. When you sit with fear long enough, you realize it has no roots. It is made of thought, and thought can be changed. You can transform your mind. But the transformation is subtle. It is not a lightning bolt, it is a slow rain. Like the monk who sweeps the courtyard every morning, knowing leaves will fall again. Peace is not an achievement, it is a discipline. A return. Again and again. We breathe. We observe. We soften. There is a Buddhist lesson for anxiety that is often whispered but rarely heard. Anxiety is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It shows you where you grasped, where you cling, where you believe the illusion of control. When you are anxious, ask, not, how do I get rid of this, but what is this showing me? This is how we protect our energy. By learning what deserves it in the first place. Imagine a lake. When the winds of craving blow, the surface ripples, distorts. But the lake itself remains unchanged. Deep below, it is still. This is the mind, untouched by turmoil. Not because it never feels pain, but because it does not resist pain. It watches, learns, lets go. Letting go is not resignation. It is not giving up. It is releasing the illusion that holding on will fix anything. Often, the things we grip the tightest are the ones already falling apart. A relationship, a dream, an image of ourselves we can no longer maintain. Letting go is a quiet strength. It says, I trust what comes next. This is not always easy, especially when you feel lost. In those moments, Buddhist reminders when you feel lost are like lanterns on a path. This too shall pass. The obstacle is the path. You are not your thoughts. These are not just phrases, they are lifelines. They pull us back to what is real. And what is real? This breath. This moment. This awareness that you are here. Listening. Feeling. Being. Buddhism for beginners often starts here, with the breath. Because it is always with us, and it always tells the truth. You cannot breathe in the future. You cannot exhale the past. You can only be here. Now. Beginner's mind asks us to listen deeply, to feel fully, without rushing to fix or judge. When we meet someone, do we see who they are, or do we only see our story about them? When we face a problem, do we respond with curiosity or react with habit? To begin again is to unlearn what numbs us. To remember that each day, each hour, each breath, is a doorway into awakening. You don't need to be a monk. You don't need to shave your head or chant in Pali. You just need to be willing to pause. To ask different questions. To listen. Even suffering becomes a teacher. The Buddha did not avoid suffering, he studied it. He said, I teach one thing and one thing only, suffering and the end of suffering. Notice the word end. It implies a path, a process, a possibility. This is how we live without fear, not by pretending the world is safe, but by knowing that even in danger, even in uncertainty, there is a place within us that cannot be touched. A space of stillness, of seeing, of being. When your heart is heavy, return to that space. When you are overwhelmed by the world, return to that space. When you are searching for answers and find only silence, return to that silence. That is the Dharma speaking. Not with words, but with presence. In the beginning, Buddhist teachings can feel abstract. But they are not. They are deeply practical. How to stay calm and positive is not a mystery. It is a practice. Wake up. Sit. Breathe. Observe. Speak with care. Eat with gratitude. Listen more than you speak. Be kind, especially when you don't feel like it. These are the teachings, not hidden in scriptures, but revealed in daily life. We each carry seeds of awakening. Sometimes they bloom in suffering. Sometimes in joy. But they bloom only if we tend them. Daily Dharma listening is one way to water those seeds. To return, each day, to that which is true. So, if today feels like a mess, begin again. If you feel like you've lost yourself, come back. If you forgot who you are, let stillness remind you. There is no end to this path. Only a deeper listening. A wider view. A gentler step. Let us walk it together. Slowly. Softly. With the sound of stillness as our guide. Part 2. How to stay calm and positive in a restless world. There is a place inside you that remains untouched by noise. It does not react when the world shouts, it does not tremble when uncertainty rises, and it does not seek validation from voices that come and go like passing winds. This place is your original mind, spacious, silent, aware. It does not need to be created. It only needs to be uncovered. The Buddhist path is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering what was never lost. In a world addicted to urgency, calmness is a rebellion. Each time you pause before speaking, each time you breathe before reacting, each time you choose presence over impulse, you reclaim a part of yourself that the world has tried to take. Calmness is not passive. It is not weak. It is powerful, because it means you are not controlled by external forces. It means you see clearly, and in that clarity, you choose peace. The teachings of the Buddha were not offered to a world unlike ours. They were born in a time of war, caste, suffering, and spiritual confusion. People then, as now, were anxious, angry, seeking relief from the chaos both outside and within. The Buddha did not retreat into the forest because he feared the world. He walked into silence to understand it more deeply. His calmness was not escape, it was insight. To stay calm and positive is not to deny the suffering around you. It is to meet that suffering with a heart that has not been hardened by it. When someone insults you, observe the sensation in your chest. When news disturbs you, notice the tightening in your breath. When expectations fall apart, feel the ground beneath your feet. These moments are not interruptions, they are invitations. Invitations to return. To see. To choose differently. In Buddhism, mindfulness is not a luxury. It is a survival skill. In a restless world, where opinions clash louder than thunder and comparison steals joy like a shadow in the night, mindfulness becomes the rope that keeps us from falling. It pulls us back from assumptions, back from narratives, back from judgments. It brings us home. And what is home? Not a place, not a structure, but a quality of presence. When you are truly here, even if everything else is unclear, that presence is enough. You eat your meal and taste the food, not the thoughts that surround it. You walk and feel the ground, not the worries you carry. You speak and mean your words, not perform your persona. This is how to stay calm and positive, not by chasing positivity, but by choosing honesty, simplicity, presence. There is a Zen story of a monk who asked his master, "How can I enter the way?" The master replied, "Do you hear the sound of the stream outside?" The monk nodded. The master said, "Enter there." The path to calmness is not hidden. It flows around us, through us, in each moment we are willing to listen. The sound of water, the rustle of leaves, the rhythm of your breath, all are Dharma, all are teaching. You may ask, how do I begin when the world feels so loud? Begin with what is immediate. You do not have to fix your entire life today. You only have to sit. Breathe in. Breathe out. Feel what is here without running. If sadness is here, bow to it. If anger is here, feel it without fueling it. If joy is here, let it bloom. This is presence. And presence is the root of calm. Positive thinking in Buddhism is not about affirmations or forcing smiles. It is about seeing clearly and choosing compassion. The mind that sees impermanence knows that this difficulty will pass. The heart that remembers suffering softens toward others. You do not need to manufacture positivity. You need only remove the veils that cloud your natural clarity. One of the most powerful Buddhist teachings is that you are not your thoughts. Thoughts arise like weather patterns, temporary, shifting, not personal. You are the sky, not the storm. When you forget this, anxiety takes over. When you remember, you breathe. And in that breath, you begin to transform your mind. You might think transformation is a grand event, something reserved for monks or spiritual masters. But it is happening each time you choose to respond instead of react. Each time you notice a thought and let it pass. Each time you hold space for discomfort without collapsing into it. These small shifts are revolutions. They build the muscle of presence. They protect your energy from the currents that would sweep you away. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is wisdom. When you are depleted, you cannot serve. When your mind is clouded, you cannot see. When you are chasing everything, you lose yourself. Buddhism teaches renunciation not as denial, but as clarity. What can I release so I can return? What can I let go of so I can hold what matters? In this letting go, space opens. In that space, peace enters. Not peace as the absence of problems, but peace as the refusal to be imprisoned by them. You still attend to life. You still work, love, create. But you do so from a grounded place. You are rooted like the Bodhi tree, not swayed by passing storms, not anxious about the seasons, simply present. Many come to Buddhism for beginners searching for relief. And the Dharma welcomes them. But it does not offer escape. It offers truth. And the truth is, peace is not found by avoiding life, but by meeting it fully, with awareness. The present moment is not a means to an end. It is the end itself. This moment is the only one that exists. Everything else is memory or imagination. When you wake tomorrow, before your feet touch the floor, pause. Feel your breath. Remind yourself that today is a new chance to begin again. To return to calm. To choose presence. To offer kindness. The world may not change, but your relationship to it will. And in that shift, everything becomes possible. Let the teachings of the Buddha be your compass. Let mindfulness be your lantern. Let compassion be your path. In a restless world, this is how you stay calm. This is how you stay soft. This is how you shine. Part 3. Live without fear, the Buddhist path to inner freedom. Fear begins as a whisper, curling quietly in the shadows of thought. It disguises itself as caution, then grows into hesitation, doubt, paralysis. You feel it in your chest before you can name it, a tightening that keeps your breath shallow, your heart guarded, your mind on high alert. In the teachings of the Buddha, fear is not evil. It is not to be crushed or shunned. Fear is a form of suffering, and like all suffering, it carries the seed of awakening. To live without fear is not to become reckless or invincible. It is to become intimate with fear, to see through it, to no longer be controlled by it. The Buddha's journey began not in comfort, but in confrontation. He walked away from his palace, not because he despised it, but because he saw that even behind wealth and security, fear lingered. Fear of aging, fear of sickness, fear of death. Fear of not knowing what comes next. He sat beneath the Bodhi tree and faced not the world, but his own mind. The temptations of Mara were not monsters outside, but voices within, fear of failure, fear of worthlessness, fear of annihilation. But the Buddha did not fight them. He saw them. He named them. He stayed. That is how he was freed. To live without fear does not mean you will never feel it again. It means you no longer run from it. You no longer let it shape your choices. You no longer confuse it for truth. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that fear arises from attachment and delusion, attachment to control, to outcomes, to egoic identity, delusion that we are separate, that we must protect ourselves at all costs, that safety can be found in externals. But what is truly safe? That which cannot be taken. That which does not depend on conditions. That is why inner freedom is the only real freedom. Freedom begins with awareness. The moment you become aware of fear, you are no longer fully possessed by it. You can breathe into it. Observe it. Understand its source. Often it is rooted in the past, old wounds, old narratives. Or it projects into the future. What if this happens? What if that doesn't? But the present moment is rarely fearful. The breath is not afraid. The ground beneath your feet does not tremble. The sun still rises, the body still lives, the Dharma still flows. The teachings invite us to ask, what am I really afraid of? Loss? Pain? Death? Being seen? Being forgotten? The answers are not problems to solve, but truths to sit with. In Buddhist meditation, we turn toward these fears, not away from them. We visualize them. We name them. We watch them dissolve in the light of awareness. Like clouds, they shift and fade. What remains is space, spaciousness of mind, of heart, of possibility. To transform your mind is to rewire the habitual paths of fear. When a thought arises, what if I fail? You meet it with curiosity instead of contraction. What does failure mean? Who decides its value? You begin to see that most fear is a trick of identity. The small self believes it must prove, protect, perform. The awakened self knows it is already whole. Not because it is perfect, but because it is real. Buddhist teachings are not about ignoring danger. They are about meeting reality with clarity. Fear clouds that clarity. It tells us we are not ready, not strong enough, not worthy. But these are just thoughts. The mind produces them because it is trying to stay safe. We can thank the mind for its effort, but we do not need to obey it. We can instead rest in the heart, which sees beyond fear into compassion. Compassion dissolves fear. When we open to the suffering of others, we stop obsessing over our own. When we offer love, we receive love. When we let go of judgment, we let go of the fear of being judged. This is not sentimental, it is radical. In a world that profits from fear, to live gently is a revolution. You protect your energy not by building walls, but by living in truth. Fear thrives on lies, lies that you are not enough, that you are alone, that the future is hopeless. But truth is simple, you are breathing. You are here. You are not your thoughts. You are not your fear. You are the one who watches, the one who listens, the one who chooses. To live without fear does not mean nothing scares you. It means you walk anyway. It means you bow to impermanence and stop clinging to what must change. It means you trust the path even when you cannot see where it leads. In Buddhist practice, we cultivate this trust through presence. Each mindful breath is an anchor. Each moment of silence is a returning. Each act of kindness is a light on the road. You may wonder how Buddhist lessons for anxiety help in real life. Anxiety often arises when the mind fixates on imagined futures. The antidote is not to control the future, but to come home to now. Now is where life is happening. Now is where your power lives. When anxious, pause. Feel your feet. Feel the breath. Let the moment hold you. The storm may still rage, but you no longer believe you are the storm. You begin to live from stillness. From center. From that place within that cannot be harmed, because it is not a thing, it is awareness itself. The more you return to this place, the less fear grips you. You no longer need to be right. You no longer need everyone's approval. You no longer need to win every battle. You are free. And freedom is quiet. It does not shout. It does not demand. It walks gently, touches softly, sees deeply. It forgives. It laughs. It lets go. Fear asks, what if I fall? Freedom answers, what if you fly? The Buddha said, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. And so it is with fear. There is no path to courage. Courage is the path. Each step you take toward truth is already the transformation. Each time you face what you once avoided, you reclaim a part of yourself. So walk slowly. Speak truthfully. Love fiercely. Breathe deeply. And remember, fear is not your enemy. It is your teacher. But it does not get to lead. You do. Part 4. Buddhist reminders when you feel lost. There comes a moment, quiet and unannounced, when the familiar dissolves. The path you once walked with certainty disappears into mist. The words you used to trust fall flat, the roles you once wore like armor no longer fit. You look around and see movement everywhere, people chasing, building, speaking, and yet inside, everything has gone still. You feel unmoored, like a boat drifting without anchor, without direction. This is the moment of lostness. And though it feels like exile, it is, in truth, a doorway. In Buddhist wisdom, to feel lost is not a failure of the path. It is the path revealing itself anew. The Buddha never promised that clarity would be constant. He never offered a life without confusion, grief, or doubt. What he offered was a way to relate to those experiences without being devoured by them. When you feel lost, Buddhist teachings do not rush to rescue you with answers. Instead, they invite you to be with the lostness fully. To sit in it, to breathe with it, to feel its shape without fleeing. Because in the stillness of that space, something sacred awakens, the capacity to see without filters, to feel without resistance, to meet life where it is, not where you wish it were. There is a reminder whispered through centuries of Dharma: when you feel most adrift, you are closer to waking up. Why? Because it is only when the familiar dissolves that we begin to question what is real. It is only when we no longer know who we are that we begin to touch the truth of no self, not as a concept, but as a lived reality. The self that felt so certain before was never solid. It was a river of habits, roles, preferences, fears. When that self begins to fall apart, we panic. But the Dharma reminds us, this falling apart is grace in disguise. The pieces that crumble were never who you truly were. When you don't know where you're going, you learn how to be here. When the future no longer gives you comfort, you return to what is immediate: the breath, the heartbeat, the ground beneath your feet. This is not retreat, it is return. Return to presence, to the body, to the truth that only this moment is real. In Buddhism, presence is the compass that never lies. It does not offer directions on a map. It brings you home to the terrain beneath your feet. You may find yourself asking, what do I do now? The teachings gently reply, be still. Observe. Do not rush to fix what is not broken, only shifting. Let yourself not know. Let yourself feel the ache of disorientation without covering it with distractions. The mind will want to fill the space with plans, explanations, identities. But stillness is where the Dharma enters. It arrives not in certainty, but in silence. In the pause between what was and what will be. Feeling lost is not just an emotional state, it is a spiritual opening. In the scriptures, even great monks and disciples wandered through doubt. They questioned the teachings, questioned themselves, questioned the very meaning of liberation. What sustained them was not belief, but practice. Not clinging to answers, but returning to breath, to mindfulness, to the gentle disciplines that hold us when nothing else can. These practices become our roots when the winds of uncertainty blow. One of the most beautiful Buddhist reminders when you feel lost is this: the path is never outside you. It is not something you must find in books, teachers, or temples. Those are supports, but the true path lives in your willingness to be fully here, even when here feels empty. The moment you turn toward your experience, rather than away, you are walking the path. The moment you breathe consciously, you are meditating. The moment you see your suffering and meet it with compassion, you are practicing the Dharma. Sometimes we mistake feeling lost for being broken. But nothing in you is broken. You are simply in the middle of transformation. Like the forest after fire, like the moon between phases, like the lotus before it blooms. The teachings say that all things arise and pass. Even confusion. Even pain. Even this sense of being lost. You are not the lostness. You are the awareness that sees it. When you feel forgotten by the world, remember the Buddha's words: you can search the entire universe for someone more deserving of your love and compassion than yourself, and you will not find that person anywhere. You are not alone in your lostness. The path of awakening is filled with wanderers who have sat where you sit, wept as you weep, asked the same questions you now carry in your heart. Let their footsteps guide you. Let their silence comfort you. Let their wisdom light your way. You do not have to know the way forward. You only have to take the next breath. Trust that the clarity you seek will not arrive as a grand revelation, but as a soft unfolding. A subtle shift in perception. A new willingness to see what is here. Trust that the very act of feeling lost is proof that you are awakening to something deeper than the life you once clung to. This is how we transform our minds, not through force, but through surrender. Not by eliminating confusion, but by learning to bow to it, to learn from it, to let it reshape us. The mind that no longer resists becomes the mind that receives. The heart that opens to its own lostness becomes the heart that can truly love. And in that love, you begin to recognize the path again, not as a destination, but as a presence that has never left you. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not off the path. The very feeling of being lost is the next step. It humbles you. It softens you. It teaches you to listen again, not to the noise of the world, but to the quiet voice within that whispers, "Stay. Breathe. Begin again." You are not alone. The Dharma walks with you, even when you cannot see it. The Buddha's hand is extended, not in instruction, but in stillness. Take it. Sit beside your lostness. Watch it gently dissolve like morning fog. And see, underneath it all, the ground of your being remains. Steady. Silent. Whole. Part 5. Find peace in chaos, the silent art of returning. There are days when the world feels unbearable, when noise seems to press against your skin, when your thoughts scatter like birds startled by thunder, and the chaos of everything outside begins to mirror the chaos within. The phone does not stop ringing, the news is always heavy, the people around you demand more than you have to give, and under it all, a quiet plea rises from somewhere deep. How do I find peace in this? The ancient path of the Buddha does not promise to remove the chaos. It offers something far more powerful, the ability to remain still within it, untouched, undisturbed, clear as a mountain lake undented by the storm above. To find peace in chaos is not to wish the world were different. It is to turn inward and see that your agitation is not caused by what happens, but by how the mind relates to what happens. The teachings reveal that suffering arises not from events, but from attachment to how those events should be. We imagine a life of ease, of control, of certainty. But life is wind. Life is water. Life changes without asking. Peace, then, must be something we carry, not something we find. There is a still point inside every being, hidden beneath layers of habit and reaction. It is the mind before thought, the breath before speech, the presence before interpretation. Buddhist practice does not build peace, it uncovers it. In meditation, we do not chase silence. We sit and notice that silence has always been here, beneath the mental waves. The practice is not to silence the mind, but to stop believing its noise is the whole truth. Chaos may be around you, but it does not have to be within you. When your outer world spirals, relationships strain, work overwhelms, plans collapse, return to the body. Return to the breath. These are the only truths the mind cannot distort. Inhale fully, exhale completely, feel the belly rise and fall. Let the breath be an anchor, a reminder that life continues, that you are here, that this moment, even in its messiness, is real. And it is enough. The Buddha lived in turbulent times. Kings waged war, society was divided by caste, famine struck without warning. Yet he remained unshaken, not because the world was calm, but because he had trained the mind to rest in clarity. His peace came from seeing that all things arise and fall. Nothing is stable. Nothing is permanent. But this is not a cause for despair. It is the very ground of liberation. When nothing can be held, nothing can enslave. So the question becomes, how do I return to peace when everything is in motion? The answer is always the same. You return to now. You feel your feet on the floor. You notice the tension in your jaw and release it. You listen, not to the mind's commentary, but to the world itself, the rustle of leaves, the hum of life, the rhythm of impermanence playing its soft music across the skin of every moment. In the Zen tradition, a master was asked how he remained peaceful while being constantly surrounded by noise and demand. He replied, "When it is time to eat, I eat. When it is time to sleep, I sleep." Simple. But not easy. To be fully present with one task, one breath, one step, that is the practice. Chaos thrives on division of attention. Peace returns when we offer the fullness of ourselves to what is directly before us. Let the mind be spacious. Let thoughts come and go like wind through an open window. Do not chase them. Do not push them away. Simply watch. A peaceful mind is not an empty mind, it is a mind that no longer clings. When joy arises, it smiles. When sorrow comes, it bows. When chaos arrives, it steps aside and lets it pass like a river. The river does not fight the current. It flows. There is a teaching that says, in the center of the spinning wheel, there is stillness. The rim may turn wildly, but the hub remains unmoved. Be the hub. Let the world whirl, let demands spin, but return again and again to that inner stillness. Even a single breath taken with full awareness is a temple. Even a pause between tasks is a monastery. Even a kind thought toward yourself in the middle of stress is the Dharma made real. When you are surrounded by anger, speak less. When everyone moves quickly, slow down. When the noise grows louder, listen inward. These are not retreats, they are returns. Return to what matters. Return to what is true. In doing so, you teach the world something it has forgotten, that peace is not a product, not a destination, but a way of being. It begins with one person willing to remember. Let your peace be contagious. Not through words, but through presence. Sit at your desk with stillness. Wash your dishes with reverence. Speak with the softness that comes from knowing nothing needs to be proved. The world may not understand your calm, but it will feel it. Like a candle in a dark room, your peace will speak for itself. Chaos will visit again. This is the way of things. But you will not fear it. You will not be shaken. Because you have built a home within your breath. A sanctuary within your awareness. A temple that no noise can enter unless you open the door. Remember the teachings: when the day feels too loud, all things change. No storm is eternal. The mind can return. The heart can soften. The breath can guide. Peace is here, not later, not someday, but here, behind the next breath, beneath the next thought, waiting for you to notice. If these words resonate with your heart, and you wish for others to also find their way back to stillness, consider offering a gesture of support. Subscribe. Like. Share. Not as a duty, but as a gift, so that someone lost in their own storm might hear the sound of stillness and remember the way home. Let this be the ripple. Let peace begin with you. Part 6. Transform your mind, from reaction to liberation. The mind, left untrained, is a restless traveler, chasing every thought like a dog chasing shadows, never questioning where it runs or why. It leaps from joy to sorrow, from desire to fear, from memory to imagination, as if peace could be found in the next moment, in the next idea, in the next escape. But in Buddhist teachings, the mind is not an enemy. It is a tool, powerful and vast. It becomes a prison only when it is believed without examination, obeyed without awareness. To transform your mind is not to change who you are, but to see clearly what you are not. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not the stories that appear and vanish in the silent screen of awareness. You are that awareness itself. Transformation begins with observation. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from ignorance, not in the sense of lacking knowledge, but in the way we habitually ignore what is happening within us. We react instead of reflect. We grasp instead of see. We follow fear instead of investigate it. But when we begin to observe the mind instead of being dragged by it, something subtle shifts. A space opens. And in that space, liberation begins. The practice of mindfulness is not merely about being calm or focused. It is a profound act of reclaiming sovereignty over the mind. When a thought arises, anxiety, jealousy, craving, we name it. Not with judgment, but with clarity. Thinking, thinking. Craving, craving. Fear, fear. This naming is a mirror. It reflects the impermanence of the thought, the lack of substance beneath its weight. You see that the thought is not you. It is just weather passing through the sky of consciousness. Every time you catch yourself reacting, snapping in anger, retreating in fear, clinging to praise, you are being offered a moment of insight. Why did this reaction arise? What old pattern was triggered? Where in the body do you feel it? This inquiry is not analysis, it is awareness. You don't need to solve the mind. You need only witness it with such stillness, such intimacy, that the pattern loses its grip. The teachings say that with awareness, even the deepest suffering becomes a teacher. Anger shows you where you're wounded. Envy reveals where you feel lacking. Anxiety points to where you do not trust. Each reaction is a messenger, knocking on the door not to harm, but to be seen. The untrained mind rejects the messenger. The awakened mind bows to it, listens, and responds with wisdom instead of habit. There is a profound difference between reaction and response. Reaction is automatic, driven by past conditioning. Response is conscious, spacious, rooted in presence. When you transform your mind, you stop being a puppet of past impressions. You begin to live as a free being. You speak with intention. You listen without preparing your reply. You move through the world not to control it, but to meet it fully, with an open heart and a steady gaze. This transformation does not happen in one moment. It is not a lightning strike. It is rain falling steadily on stone. Over time, the hardest patterns soften. The deepest grooves of reaction begin to fade. And in their place, a new mind emerges, one shaped not by craving and aversion, but by equanimity and compassion. The Buddha used the metaphor of the garden. The untrained mind is like a wild field, thorns of anger, weeds of distraction, dry patches of neglect. But with practice, with attention, with effort, the garden can be tended. Seeds of mindfulness are planted, watered with discipline, nourished with ethical living. And over time, the garden blooms, not in perfection, but in presence. Even a single moment of true awareness can shift the course of your day. A breath taken with full attention can interrupt a storm of anxiety. A pause before reacting can prevent an old wound from being reopened. These are not small things. They are sacred. They are acts of inner revolution. When we speak of transformation, we do not mean becoming someone else. We mean becoming more fully who you are beneath the conditioning. The soft-hearted child who once noticed the beauty of raindrops. The quiet soul who sat with trees and listened to wind without needing answers. That original mind is not gone. It is simply buried beneath layers of shoulds and musts and fears. The practice of the Dharma is the art of uncovering. Protecting your energy is also part of this transformation. The more aware you become, the more sensitive you are to noise, external and internal. You begin to notice how some conversations leave you drained, how some environments stir up agitation, how certain thoughts, repeated endlessly, distort your sense of self. Protecting your energy means setting gentle boundaries, not out of fear, but out of love, for yourself, for your path, for your peace. In transforming the mind, we also transform our world. The way you think becomes the way you see. The way you see becomes the way you relate. And the way you relate becomes the life you live. A peaceful mind creates a peaceful day. A kind mind creates a kind interaction. A spacious mind allows others to be as they are, without needing to control or fix them. Even pain becomes sacred when met with an awakened mind. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" You ask, "What is this teaching me?" In this way, even suffering becomes a gateway. It humbles. It softens. It awakens. It shows you where the ego still clings, where the self-image still resists reality. And in the letting go, something vast is revealed, not a void, but a fullness beyond words. Let the transformation be slow. Let it be gentle. Let it arise not from a place of lack, but from reverence. You are not broken. You are unfolding. The mind does not need to be silenced. It needs to be seen. And in the seeing, it begins to return to its true nature, clear, open, luminous like the morning sky. In the end, to transform your mind is to come home, to the breath, to the body, to the moment, to the mystery of being alive. There is no final destination, no perfect version of you waiting somewhere. There is only this step, this breath, this awareness. Take it with love. Take it with presence. And let the transformation continue, silently, surely, one breath at a time. Part 7. Buddhist Lessons for Anxiety, Meeting the Storm with Stillness. Anxiety is a trembling beneath the skin, a restless whisper in the mind, a tightening in the chest that speaks without language and repeats without pause. It is not always loud, but it is persistent. It follows you into the quiet, into sleep, into moments that should feel safe. It clings not to the present, but to imagined futures, to endless what-ifs and invisible dangers. In the light of Buddhist teachings, anxiety is not a mistake. It is a signal. It is the mind reacting to its own uncertainty, craving control where control does not exist. But the Dharma does not seek to suppress anxiety or pretend it does not arise. It teaches us to look at it directly, without judgment, to walk into the heart of it with the clarity of awareness and the gentleness of compassion. The Buddha taught that suffering is caused by attachment, not just to things or people, but to ideas, expectations, outcomes. Anxiety is often born from this attachment, to the idea of safety, of permanence, of being in control of how life unfolds. The more we cling, the more we suffer. The path out of anxiety is not through more control, but through surrender. Not in the sense of giving up, but in the deeper sense of letting go. Letting go of the illusion that life will follow your plans. Letting go of the idea that every uncertain thing must be resolved now. Letting go of the belief that fear must be answered with resistance. When anxiety arises, Buddhist practice invites us to pause and return. Not to escape, but to enter the body. To feel the breath. To observe what is real. Is the fear in your thoughts or in your environment? Is the danger immediate or imagined? Often, anxiety is a ghost, formed in the mind, but experienced in the body. By bringing awareness into the body, we stop feeding the ghost. We see the sensation, name it gently, tightness, heat, fluttering, and we stay. Just stay. Without rushing to push it away. This staying is not weakness. It is courage. It is the strength of presence. Meditation becomes a mirror in these moments. Not because it erases anxiety, but because it reflects its true shape. You sit, and the mind races. You breathe, and the storm continues. But beneath the storm, there is a silence. A stillness that watches. The practice is to rest in that stillness, to see the storm but not become it. You are not the anxiety. You are the awareness in which it appears. In Buddhist psychology, the mind is understood as a stream of consciousness, always changing, always moving. Thoughts and emotions are visitors. Some are gentle. Some are fierce. But all are impermanent. Anxiety, too, is impermanent. No matter how powerful it feels, it cannot last forever. This truth is not philosophical, it is liberating. When you know that anxiety will pass, you do not fear it as deeply. You do not resist it as strongly. You allow it to be, and in that allowing, it begins to loosen its grip. Compassion is essential in this process. Not only for others, but for yourself. The anxious mind often judges itself harshly. Why am I like this? Why can't I be calm? Why do I always feel this way? These questions are weapons. They deepen the wound. But the Dharma reminds us, suffering is not a flaw. It is a doorway. And you are not alone in it. Every human heart trembles. Every human mind fears. You are not broken, you are awakening. The practice of loving kindness, or metta, is an antidote to the harshness of anxiety. You sit, you breathe, and you repeat softly, "May I be safe, may I be peaceful, may I be free from fear." These words are not magical incantations. They are reminders. They rewire the mind toward tenderness, toward spaciousness, toward healing. Anxiety thrives in contraction, in the narrow tunnel of imagined futures. The Dharma widens that tunnel. It opens the view. Instead of trying to fix the future, you begin to inhabit the present. You feel the chair beneath you, the air against your skin, the breath rising and falling. This is not avoidance, it is return. Return to what is true, what is immediate, what is within your care. The Buddha said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." This teaching is not denial, it is medicine. Because the past is a memory, the future is a possibility, but the present is a reality. And anxiety cannot live fully in reality. It feeds on projections, on what might be. By grounding in now, you take away its food. Sometimes, anxiety comes from unspoken pain, grief that has not been touched, stories we have told ourselves for too long. Buddhist practice does not ask you to bury these. It asks you to bring them into the light, to hold them gently, to listen to what they want to teach. Maybe the anxiety is asking for rest, for care, for honesty. Maybe it is the soul's way of calling you home. You do not need to fix every anxious thought. You do not need to win every battle with fear. You need only stay present. Breathe. Observe. Respond instead of react. One breath at a time, the mind softens. The heart opens. The storm passes. There is a place in you that no anxiety can touch. A place of quiet, of vastness, of peace that does not depend on anything. Meditation leads you there. Not by force, but by stillness. Not by silencing the mind, but by seeing through it. That place is your refuge, your ground, your truth. And when anxiety arises again, and it will, you will not fear it in the same way. You will recognize its shape, feel its arrival, and greet it like an old visitor. Not with panic, but with presence. Not with resistance, but with awareness. And in that meeting, transformation begins. This is the path. Not linear, not perfect, but real. A path walked with breath, with compassion, with courage. The storm may return, but so will your stillness. Again and again. 1,000 times. As long as it takes. This is how the mind heals. This is how the heart rests. This is how anxiety becomes not a curse, but a guide, pointing you back, always back, to the unshakable ground of now. Part 8. Protect your energy, the quiet discipline of inner refuge. There is a sacred fire within every being, a quiet, steady warmth that gives light without burning, that offers presence without demanding attention. It is the essence of clarity, compassion, and calm. Yet in the noise of daily life, this fire is often forgotten, smothered by the winds of distraction, drained by the pull of endless demands, weakened by the stories and emotions we absorb from others without even noticing. To protect your energy is not selfish. It is an act of wisdom. It is to recognize that this inner fire is your only true light, and without tending it, you walk in darkness, reactive, exhausted, lost. In the teachings of the Buddha, energy is more than physical strength. It is vitality of mind, steadiness of heart, clarity of attention. It is what allows you to sit still in the face of chaos, to listen without absorbing, to act without being consumed. Energy, or viriya in Pali, is one of the essential factors of enlightenment. Not force, not aggression, but balanced, sustained, mindful effort. And like all sacred things, it must be protected. Every day you wake with a certain measure of this energy. Where you place your attention, how you speak, what you allow into your mind, all these things shape how the energy flows. The untrained mind leaks energy in every direction. It chases unnecessary arguments. It clings to judgments. It overthinks, overcommits, overexposes. But the awakened mind becomes a vessel. It holds energy with care. It releases what is no longer necessary. It moves with intention. To protect your energy, begin with awareness. Notice where you feel drained. Who or what leaves you hollow after interaction? What kind of thoughts rob you of peace? Not all exhaustion comes from doing. Much of it comes from not noticing what we are carrying. The mind holds stories long after they are needed. The heart absorbs emotions that were never yours to bear. Just as a room must be aired, the inner world must be cleared. Not once, but daily. Silence is a powerful purifier. In silence, you hear what is essential. You see which thoughts are visitors, which emotions are echoes. You begin to notice how much of your restlessness is inherited from the world. The news, the noise, the constant exposure to other people's fears, opinions, projections. Silence does not mean withdrawal from life. It means returning to the source, the stillness beneath the surface. A few minutes each morning in quiet presence can restore what hours of sleep cannot. In Buddhist tradition, the Noble Eightfold Path is a guide to wholesome living. Right speech, right intention, right livelihood, all are ways of conserving and directing energy skillfully. Gossip drains energy. Complaining scatters it. Pretending to be what you are not fractures the self. But when you speak truthfully, live simply, and act from intention, energy becomes like a clear river, steady, deep, flowing in one direction. Boundaries are not barriers. They are containers. They allow you to give from fullness, not from depletion. Say no without guilt. Step away without shame. You are not responsible for fixing every broken thing, nor for carrying pain that does not belong to you. Compassion does not require self-abandonment. It requires presence. And presence needs energy. There is a story of a monk who visited a village filled with sorrow. He sat, he listened, he offered words of comfort. But each evening, he returned to the forest, to his tree, to his breath. He did not drown in their suffering. He did not try to save them through force. He offered his calm as medicine, then returned to refill his own cup. This is the way of protecting energy, not in retreat, but in rhythm. Give, then return. Speak, then listen. Engage, then rest. The body speaks when energy is depleted. Fatigue, tension, irritability, anxiety, these are not failures. They are signals. Buddhist practice invites you to listen deeply to the body, to care for it as you would a temple. Eat with attention. Move with mindfulness. Sleep with respect. When the body is well, the mind rests more easily. When the mind rests, the heart opens. You cannot control what comes to you, but you can choose what stays. Not every thought deserves your attention. Not every emotion must be explored. Some things simply pass. Let them. Like clouds over a mountain, let them drift without attachment. The more you allow, the less you carry. The less you carry, the lighter you become. In moments of overwhelm, return to the breath. Not to escape, but to ground. Each inhale is a gathering of energy. Each exhale is a release of what no longer serves. This breath, fully felt, is a sanctuary. It is always with you. It costs nothing. And yet it restores everything. Protecting your energy also means watching your inputs. What you read, what you watch, what you hear, all leave impressions. Feed your mind with what nourishes. Words that awaken, sounds that calm, images that inspire. The Dharma is not limited to temples. It is in poetry, in stillness, in the way you pour tea. Choose what uplifts. Decline what disturbs. Not from fear, but from care. When you protect your energy, you become trustworthy, to yourself and to others. People feel your presence. Not because you are loud, but because you are rooted. You do not sway with every opinion. You do not collapse at every request. You move from center. You speak with clarity. You offer your peace as a silent gift. And in protecting your energy, you protect your path. The path is not found in books or maps, but in how you live each moment. With presence. With care. With the steady fire of awareness. When that fire is tended, it lights the way not only for you, but for others lost in the dark. Let your life become that fire, quiet, warm, steady. Let your energy be a prayer, a vow, a refuge. And let each breath be a return to that which cannot be shaken. The mind may wander. The world may shout. But you, centered in presence, will remain. Whole. Bright. Unmoved. Part 9. Buddhist teachings on suffering, embracing what we try to escape. There is a kind of silence that falls when words fail in the face of pain, a silence that does not comfort, that does not answer, but simply remains. In that stillness, we begin to see the truth the Buddha discovered beneath the Bodhi tree, that suffering is not a mistake, not a punishment, not a failure, but an inescapable thread woven through the fabric of life. Birth is suffering. Loss is suffering. Change is suffering. Even joy, when clung to, turns into sorrow. The First Noble Truth does not hide from this, it illuminates it. It speaks what most hearts dare not: life hurts. And yet, within this raw acknowledgement begins the path to freedom. To understand suffering is not to wallow in it. It is to bring the light of awareness into its darkest corners. Most of the time, suffering is not what wounds us, it is our refusal to turn toward it that deepens the wound. We run, we distract, we numb, we deny. But the Dharma invites a different way. It says, stop. Sit. Feel it. Not to be broken by it, but to see what it is made of. Thoughts. Memories. Sensations. Old fears. Unmet needs. Layers that appear solid but melt under gentle observation. The Buddha never taught that suffering should be removed. He taught that it could be understood. And in that understanding, it loses its power to bind us. Like a shadow seen in the full light of day, it changes shape. It softens. It becomes less terrifying. You begin to see that suffering is not a foreign invader, it is part of the human landscape. It arrives as grief, as longing, as heartbreak, as illness, but beneath each mask is the same essence, impermanence. Nothing stays. Not pleasure, not pain. This is both terrifying and liberating. When you resist suffering, you suffer twice, once from the event itself, and once from the struggle against it. But when you allow it, truly allow it to be seen, to move through you, to speak its lesson, it changes. Not instantly, not dramatically, but slowly, like ice melting into water. It finds its way out, through the breath, through tears, through stillness. The Buddhist path is not about avoiding suffering. It is about walking through it with eyes open and heart soft. When you feel the heaviness in your chest, do not turn away. Breathe into it. Name it. Sadness. Fear. Loneliness. These are not your enemies. They are messengers. They are the parts of you that were never heard. When you meet them with compassion, with space, with presence, they begin to heal, not because they are fixed, but because they are finally seen. There is a deep teaching that says, suffering ceases when we stop insisting that life be different. This is not resignation. It is wisdom. It is the realization that peace is not found by controlling circumstances, but by changing the way we relate to them. The external world may bring difficulty, but the inner world can remain spacious. You can feel pain and still be free. You can lose and still be whole. You can hurt and still be at peace. This is the paradox the Buddha points to. Suffering, when met with wisdom, becomes the path. The thorn in the foot becomes the reason you stop running. The wound in the heart becomes the place where compassion enters. The darkness becomes the backdrop against which the light of awareness shines most clearly. You do not need to fix everything. You need only to be fully present with what is. The breath is your guide in this process. Inhale with awareness. Exhale with release. Each breath a reminder that life continues, that this moment is bearable, that presence is enough. When thoughts of despair arise, return to the breath. When grief washes over you, return to the breath. When anger ignites, return to the breath. Not to escape, but to remain grounded. The breath brings you back to what is real, to what can be met, to what can be healed. Suffering also teaches humility. It reminds you that everyone suffers, that no one is exempt. This is where compassion is born. Not from pity, but from shared humanity. When you know your own sorrow, you can hold space for another's. When you've sat with your own grief, you no longer fear theirs. The boundaries between self and other dissolve. You see not just your pain, but the universal thread running through all hearts. The Buddha did not offer suffering as a destination, but as a beginning. The first noble truth is followed by the second, the third, and the fourth. The truth of suffering leads to the cause of suffering, the end of suffering, and the path that leads to its cessation. This is the path we walk, not away from pain, but through it. Each step a letting go. Each breath a return. Each moment an invitation to be here, to be real, to be whole. In this light, even the deepest suffering carries the seed of awakening. It humbles, it breaks open, it strips away illusion. What remains is what has always been here, this still, watching awareness, this open-hearted presence, this unshakable ground of being. You are not your suffering. You are the one who sees it. You are not the brokenness. You are the space in which it moves, the silence in which it dissolves, the clarity that cannot be touched. So when suffering comes, do not close. Do not run. Do not numb. Sit. Breathe. Listen. Let it speak, let it weep, let it move through the body like a storm through trees. You will not be destroyed. You will be transformed. Softer. Wiser. Deeper. And in that depth, you will find the stillness the Buddha knew, the peace that does not depend on circumstance, the freedom that nothing can take. This is the gift of the Dharma. Not a life without pain, but a life where pain becomes path, where wounds become wisdom, where even in the midst of sorrow, the heart remains open and the mind returns, again and again, to the vastness of now. Part 10. Buddhist wisdom for everyday life, walking gently through the world. The Dharma was never meant to stay only on temple altars or within ancient texts. It was never intended solely for monks in distant mountains or seekers in retreat. The wisdom of the Buddha is not distant from the world, it is found within the world. It breathes through ordinary moments, speaks through daily struggles, reveals itself in the most mundane gestures. To live with Buddhist wisdom is not to escape life, but to enter it more fully, more honestly, more awake. It is to see clearly and act gently. It is to walk through life with bare feet in a tender heart, leaving no harm, carrying no weight heavier than love and awareness. The heart of Buddhist wisdom is simplicity. Not in the sense of doing less, but in doing with full presence. Washing a cup is not just a task, it is meditation. Walking to the market is not just movement, it is a dance with the earth beneath your feet. Speaking to a friend is not just conversation, it is a practice of right speech, of kindness, of truth offered without aggression. These are the places where the Dharma becomes real. Not in what you believe, but in how you show up to the ordinary. Right view begins each day. You wake up and remember that nothing is guaranteed, not your health, not your plans, not even the breath in your lungs. And from that remembrance, gratitude arises. You do not take the morning for granted. You do not rush through it. You bow inwardly to the miracle of being alive, even when things are uncertain, even when the path ahead is unclear. From this place, you begin to live, not reactively, but deliberately. Right intention follows. Before you step into your roles and tasks, you check your heart. Why am I doing this? What is the energy behind my actions? Is it rooted in love, in clarity, in generosity? Or is it driven by fear, by ego, by the need to prove something? Buddhist wisdom teaches that intention shapes everything. A single word spoken with the wrong intention can wound deeply. A simple act done with pure intention can heal a lifetime of sorrow. In this way, mindfulness becomes not just a practice, but a way of being. Right speech becomes a daily mirror. You begin to notice the words that pass through your lips. Are they true? Are they necessary? Are they kind? Do they build or destroy? You catch yourself before gossip leaves your mouth, not out of fear, but out of compassion, for yourself, for others, for the world you are helping to create with every syllable. Silence becomes more valuable than opinion. Listening becomes more sacred than being right. And in that silence, you hear what words cannot teach. Right action becomes the backbone of your day. You act not for applause, not for recognition, but because integrity is its own reward. You show up when it's inconvenient. You help when no one is watching. You offer without expectation. You begin to see that every action leaves a trace in the heart, and you want that trace to be clean, to be clear, to be aligned with something greater than personal gain. This is the quiet nobility of the path. Right livelihood becomes a question of alignment. Not only what you do to survive, but how you do it. Does your work reflect your values? Does it contribute to suffering or to healing? Do you compromise your peace for success? Buddhist wisdom does not require renunciation of the world, it asks for integrity within it. Whatever your role, teacher, parent, artist, laborer, the work itself becomes a practice when done with awareness, with ethics, with care. Right effort is the art of balance. Not pushing, not retreating, just steady, consistent presence. You do not force transformation. You do not collapse when progress feels slow. You learn to move with the rhythm of the present moment, to trust in small shifts, to be patient with the seasons of the heart. The lotus blooms in its own time. Your path will unfold not on your schedule, but when the conditions are right, and you learn to be at peace with that. Right mindfulness is your constant companion. You carry it into the traffic, into the meetings, into the kitchen, into the arguments. You pause. You breathe. You notice. Not to control life, but to touch it fully. When you eat, you taste. When you walk, you feel. When you are hurt, you acknowledge. Nothing is bypassed. Everything becomes a teacher. Right concentration gives depth to your days. In a world of distraction, your ability to focus becomes a form of resistance. You give your full attention to what matters. You do one thing at a time. You stop scattering your awareness across 100 windows and instead enter fully into the one task before you. This deepens not only your presence, but your peace. It brings back the sacredness of the moment, which is all you ever truly have. The Eightfold Path is not a checklist. It is a spiral. You return to it again and again, each time deeper, each time more refined. Buddhist wisdom does not demand perfection. It invites sincerity. And in that sincerity, you begin to notice subtle shifts. You are less reactive. You are more grounded. You do not need to be right. You do not need to win. You are content to be here, to be real, to be kind. Even suffering becomes different. It no longer frightens you in the same way. You know it will come. You know it will pass. You do not collapse into it. You do not harden against it. You hold it gently, like a bird with a broken wing, and you breathe. This is Buddhist wisdom in action. It is not cold. It is not distant. It is full of warmth, of care, of spaciousness that makes room for every experience. You begin to carry your presence into the world like a lamp in the darkness. Not to preach, not to convert, but to simply be a reminder that peace is possible. That kindness matters. That simplicity is strength. You hold doors. You meet eyes. You speak truth. You leave spaces better than you found them. You live not as a performance, but as a prayer. And when the day ends, you return to stillness. You sit. You breathe. You look at your day with gentle eyes. You see where you stumbled. You see where you loved well. You forgive yourself. You rest not in perfection, but in presence. And the next morning, you begin again. This is the rhythm of a life shaped by Dharma. Not grand, not dramatic, but quietly radiant. A life where each breath is sacred, each step is mindful, each moment is enough. If this path calls to you, if these words resonate like a bell in the heart, share them. Let someone else hear what they've been searching for. Let the ripples of wisdom move beyond this moment. Like light passed from candle to candle, let presence multiply, let peace spread. Subscribe. Share. Walk with us. The path continues, always here, always now. Part 11. Zen stories that melt anxiety and put you into your deepest sleep. In the quiet corners of the Zen tradition, stories have long been used not to explain the truth, but to reveal it. These stories do not speak in logical lines or convincing arguments. They are lanterns in fog, brief illuminations that ask nothing but full attention. They do not promise answers. They open space. And within that space, something deep inside begins to settle. For the anxious heart, these stories are medicine. They do not cure anxiety with ideas, but with presence. They do not solve problems, but dissolve the self that clings to them. And when the mind quiets, the body follows. The breath slows. The heart softens. The grip of fear loosens. And slowly, like mist dissolving into air, sleep comes. There was a Zen master who, upon being asked what enlightenment was, simply said, "When I eat, I eat. When I sleep, I sleep." The student looked puzzled. "But master, don't we all do that?" The master replied, "No. When you eat, you are already planning. When you sleep, you are still thinking. When I eat, I only eat. When I sleep, I only sleep." This is the essence of Zen, a return to the present moment so complete that even thought disappears. In that space, anxiety cannot survive. There is no future to worry about. No past to replay. Just this bite of rice. Just this breath. Just this sleep. Another story tells of a monk who went to his teacher and said, "I am anxious. My thoughts will not stop. I meditate but they only grow stronger." The teacher said nothing. He poured tea. Slowly. Carefully. One hand on the pot, one hand on the cup. Silence stretched. The monk fidgeted. Finally, the teacher looked up and said, "Are you the thoughts?" The monk paused. "No," he said quietly. "Then let them come," said the teacher. "Let them go. But do not follow." That night, the monk slept like a child, not because his mind was empty, but because he stopped chasing every cloud that passed through it. Anxiety is the mind trying to do what it cannot, control the uncontrollable, hold the impermanent, protect the fragile self it imagines to be real. But Zen teaches that the self is not a solid thing. It is a collection of habits, reactions, memories, roles. Like mist, it seems to have shape, but cannot be grasped. When you stop defending the self, the tension dissolves. The need to be right, to be safe, to be liked, all loosen their hold. In their place comes spaciousness, a vast awareness that can hold anything without effort. One day, a student asked his master, "What is the way to peace?" The master led him to a bamboo grove and said, "Listen." The student heard wind rustling leaves, birds in the canopy, the faint creak of trunks bending with breath. "Do you hear that?" asked the master. "Yes," said the student. That is the way. Zen does not teach peace as an idea. It reveals it as the background of all experience. Beneath the noise of thought, there is always stillness. Beneath the tension in your chest, there is always breath. Beneath the restlessness of the day, there is always night waiting, soft and dark and patient. In one temple, a novice monk complained to the head monk that he could not sleep. His mind was too full. The head monk handed him a broom and said, "Sweep the courtyard until the moon rises." The novice did as he was told. Sweep after sweep, grain after grain, he listened to the sound of straw against stone. He watched his breath. He lost track of thought. By the time the moon rose, his body was tired, his mind empty. He slept beneath the stars without dream or worry. The next morning, he woke and bowed to the broom. From that night on, he never struggled with sleep again. Zen does not require that you fix your mind. It asks that you stop believing every thought that arises. It offers no complicated methods, no long practices. Just this: breathe. Watch. Let go. The anxious mind is always asking what's next. Zen replies, this. This moment. This sound. This feeling. When you return fully to now, you realize that the problem you were so worried about does not exist here. Anxiety only lives in imagined futures. Peace lives in now. A traveler once stopped at a monastery for rest. He asked the master, "Do you believe in a life after death?" The master smiled and said, "What makes you think you are alive now?" The traveler had no answer. That night, he could not sleep. He lay under the stars wondering, what does it mean to truly be alive? In the morning, he rose early and swept the steps without being asked. He drank his tea slowly. He bowed to the rising sun. He never asked the question again. In simply living with presence, he found the answer his mind could never reach. When anxiety comes at night, it often wears many faces: regret, fear, restlessness, unfinished conversations, unresolved plans. But beneath each mask is the same movement of mind, trying to grasp what cannot be held. Zen stories do not argue with the mind. They bypass it. They point you back to what is here: the warmth of your blanket, the rhythm of your breath, the weight of your body on the bed. These are not small things. They are gateways. When you rest in them, the mind softens. The stories fade. The nervous system slows. Sleep enters not as a task, but as a return. There was once a master who, upon hearing that his temple was to be burned down, sat beneath a tree and smiled. His student panicked. "Master, are you not afraid?" The master said, "The temple was never mine. The fire burns what can be burned. But what I am cannot be touched." This is the essence of deep calm. When you know that what is essential and you cannot be harmed by circumstances, fear has no soil to grow in. You lie down at night not clinging to your life, but resting in its unfolding. You trust the breath. You trust the silence. You trust the vast stillness that holds you like the sky holds the stars. And so, tonight, if anxiety visits, greet it like an old monk would a guest. Offer it tea. Listen without resistance. Let it say what it needs. Then watch it leave. Return to your body. To the simple miracle of warmth and breath and darkness. Let the stories drift like clouds. Let the thoughts soften like leaves falling. Let the breath guide you down into the earth, into the quiet, into the deep river beneath all noise. This is how the Zen path carries you into sleep, not through force, but through surrender. Not through thinking more, but through needing less. Through being, only being. And in that being, you discover that what you sought was never far. That peace is not the absence of noise, but the presence of stillness beneath it. That sleep is not escape, but a return to the ground of your being. Breathe. Rest. Let go. The Dharma will hold you. The silence will teach you. The night is already enough. Part 12. The Art of Letting Go, returning to the space where nothing is missing. There is a kind of quietness that arrives not when everything is perfect, but when we finally stop trying to control what was never ours to hold. The ache of human suffering is often found not in the pain itself, but in our refusal to let go. We cling to memories, to people, to outcomes, to identities long outgrown. We carry stories like stones, packed into the body, into the mind, into the heart, until we forget that we are the ones who refuse to set them down. The Dharma does not demand that we force ourselves to be detached. It invites us to see clearly. And when we see clearly, letting go happens naturally, like a leaf releasing itself into wind when its time has come. Letting go is not a loss. It is not failure. It is not weakness. It is the deepest form of love. The love that says, I no longer need to make this into something it isn't. I no longer need to hold what causes harm. I no longer need to grip the rope that is burning my hand. Buddhist wisdom teaches that all things are impermanent, not to frighten us, but to free us. To remind us that everything we try to hold will one day change, dissolve, return. And if we can learn to let go before life takes it from us, we taste a different kind of peace. A peace that does not depend on possession. There was once a monk who clutched a bowl tightly as he crossed a river. The water was swift. The current pulled at his robe. He feared the bowl would slip, so he held it even tighter. When he reached the far bank, he found that the bowl had shattered in his grip. The lesson is simple: what we fear to lose, we often destroy by trying too hard to keep. To let go is not to discard, but to release the clenching. To hold gently what is here, and to know when its time with us has passed. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop needing things to be a certain way in order to be at peace. You can love someone and still release them. You can cherish a memory and still make space for the present. You can grieve a loss fully and still return to life with soft eyes. The mind says, hold on or you will lose everything. The heart says, let go and you will become everything. The Buddha taught that clinging is one of the roots of suffering. Not because desire itself is wrong, but because attachment hardens the mind. It traps us in cycles of craving, of comparison, of fear. When we cling to what brings pleasure, we suffer when it changes. When we cling to what hurts, we suffer by refusing the release that healing requires. But in truth, letting go is not subtraction, it is spaciousness. It is what allows something new to enter. In meditation, we practice letting go again and again. A thought arises, we see it, name it, let it pass. A sensation emerges, we feel it, breathe with it, release it. An emotion flares, we stay present, offer kindness, and allow it to move through.